Hey y'all, Enso here with Knox Knife Mods, and tonight on the table we got a few Rough Rider reserves here, and we're going to dive into this, talk about why these knives are awesome. We got two newer ones here and one that has been in the collection for a minute, but I just keep forgetting to review, so now we are taking care of it here. So let's go ahead and roll that intro and we'll dive into it. Okay, so as is custom, before we get into the knives, we got to do a quick whiskey check. Tonight, I'm sipping on Four Roses, just the regular stuff, not the small batch or anything special, but it's it's a good affordable whiskey. That's where I tend to kind of gravitate, is the affordable environment. Yeah, very smooth, a little bit of heat, nothing too crazy. Yeah, very mellow. As you can see, it's kind of a lighter color, but not nearly as light as that Templeton Rye that I had last time. But I do like Four Roses for the money. It's a good whiskey. So anyway, moving on. Also have to do a quick pocket check. Today I have the 8010 Tie in 3V. Love this thing. Full titanium scales. I acid washed the pocket clip, and the lanyard on the back here is this funky custom lanyard I came up with using a 20-sided die. So that one's fun. Action on this thing is excellent. All right, let's get into what you're here for. Let's talk about these Rough Ryders. I'm going to start off the bat with the new ones, and the main one that, out of all three of these, my favorite one is this Longfellow Granddaddy Barlow. This thing is just cool. As you can see, we have a two-tone micarta handle here. They call this chili pepper micarta, I believe, and then just a tan on the butt of the blade. Our shield is basically the main shield that Rough Rider Reserve uses these days, which is a bomb shield. Or I guess some kind of fish shield, if you want to look at it that way. It kind of looks like an ichthus, but it's not quite as clear as an ichthus would be. But yeah, really awesome knife. Interestingly, I have several Granddaddy Barlows from Case and from GEC, and this one has a much slimmer kind of blade than the other Granddaddies that I've handled. They tend to have a little bit more belly, but this one's very straightforward, very slim. Definitely lives up to the name Longfellow. It feels very kind of pokey, very pokey, but it's excellent knife in my experience with it so far. D2, no wobble or anything like that. Very nice. You wouldn't say lock up with a slip joint, but that's what I'm going to say now for lack of a better word. Very nice lock up. No movement up and down, no movement side to side. Now the action, however, is, out of all my Rough Rider reserves, this one probably has the softest action, which I find very weird with it being a single blade. It's very tight, and it doesn't feel bad or mushy or anything. It just feels slow. So on the close in particular is where you'll notice it the most. As you can see here, it's not super snappy on the half stop. It's okay, and it's just kind of slow to get there. But in particular, it's very slow getting back inside the handle. You see that? So that's really the biggest complaint that I have with the Longfellow Granddaddy here. But really everything else, I really love it. I love the two-tone micarta. That was a big draw for me, and that's something that you see more often on custom slip joints, like say from Enrique Pena, or maybe from Pepe Holomo, or oh gosh, what's another good example? Somebody that would do two-tone micarta like that. I don't know. Maybe J.E. Made might do something like that. I'd have to think more on it. But those two in particular, Enrique and Pepe, come to mind immediately. They do really cool stuff like this. So to me, it was awesome to see an affordable, budget-oriented knife with this kind of a handle. Of course, Rough Rider Reserves are made in China. That's one thing that you're going to want to know before you buy into it. And for me, I have my collection is mostly American-made stuff, and then I have some stuff from Taiwan and some stuff from China. I have no problem buying Chinese-made knives. I just think the quality of manufacture has gotten so good now that and there's so many great designers who are working with Chinese-based companies that I don't want to miss out on those designs. But if that's a deal breaker for you, I totally understand. However, I know the guy behind many Rough Rider Reserve designs. He is here in Tennessee. He's a great guy. Really respect what he does, and knowing that anytime I buy a Rough Rider Reserve that I'm supporting him directly really means a lot to me, and he's a great designer. So as you can see, this is an excellent design. I really love this elongated blade. At first I wasn't sure about it, and the more that I handle it and use it, the more I like it. It just feels very, in terms of the design, it just feels very slick, very svelte. Yeah, it's a good look. And as you can see here, a couple more things that I've noticed. We have a, oh, what do you call that? Goodness gracious, am I really going to blank out now? We've got a 3-line bolster here. There's a specific word for these indentions going along the bolster, and it has left my brain. But I think that's a really classy touch. The only other thing that is kind of a bit much is the number of pins. Lord, we have 7 pins here. I mean, and I guess that's to account for the 2 sections of micarta. I guess that's to make sure everything stays in place. But 7 pins sure seems like a lot. I'll have to compare that against some of my other granddaddies. But the other thing I want to note too is it is kind of a thick profile. It's not overly fat, but it does feel substantial in your hand. And that can be a good or bad thing depending on your outlook. Just up to you if you prefer thin or thick knives. Generally, I prefer thinness in my slip joints and thickness in my locking knives. But this is honestly, I'm happy with it. It's kind of in a middle area personally, so I can roll with it. It really, what gets me with this knife is just how attractive the design. Ooh, yeah, real slow there. How attractive the design is. There we go. One thing I will say too on the closing, it is a little better feeling if you close it one-handed. It doesn't feel quite so draggy, and that's just the nature of the movements that you're using to close the knife. When you do a classic sort of rollover like that, it just does not feel great. All in all, though, I still really love this knife. It's one of my favorite design-wise that Rough Rider Reserve has done, really since they started kicking. So yeah, big fan of this one, the Longfellow Barlow. This comes in right around the $50 mark. I think it's at like 47 or 48 at Smoky Mountain Knife Works website. So yeah, let's move on to the next one here. We'll do the next new one. This is the newest out of all of these. This is their fat bottom doctor's knife, and I got to see this one before it, probably like, gosh, almost a year ago is when I first saw this one. And it is heavily inspired by a design from, I believe it was IKC, International Knife Company. I'm not sure about that. Please correct me if y'all know in the comments. But they used a very similar bolster stamp that was an I, a K, and a C. And Rough Rider Reserve did their own version of that I think looks super cool. I'm a really big fan of this. I love having this this back end bolster on the back of the knife. Not all doctor's knives do that, and plus I love kind of the flare down here. I just think it's a really attractive design. We have a long pull here. Also, I'll mention that as well if you didn't notice. On this one, we also have a long pull, and it's the Rough Rider matte strike pulls that you see on pretty much every Rough Rider. And it's very functional. Really great action on this one, by the way. Action on this one is phenomenal, which is what it's going to hurt me to say in a minute. We'll get to it. Smooth bone handles. There's a bit of speckling in that bone on the shield side, and pretty much smooth black on the pile side. So I could take or leave the bone. I mean, I think it's pretty. It's very plain. That's fine. It's a very classic look. Black on silver is always going to be a classic look for a knife. Anything else we want to point out here? D2 steel as always. Nice swedge up here near the tip. I love the length of that long pull. Very long pull there. Fluted. That was the word I was looking for. Fluted bolsters. So these are called flutes. So we have 3 flutes on the Granddaddy Barlow, 2 flutes on the fat bottom doctor's knife. Okay, so now let's see. Like I said, action's wonderful. Really great action. Really snappy. Touch of play. Nothing that I would worry about. You know, just a little hair of it. Nothing compared to what I've experienced from GEC or Case. No up and down. All right, let's get to what stinks, and let's see if you guys can see it. Can y'all see it? Does something look wrong here? Hopefully you can see that. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but this blade is warped, like big time. There's a serious warp in this blade. In case you can't tell, it veers hard to the left, hard for a blade. And you don't really notice it when it's closed because the centering is really not bad. So I don't know what the heck happened there. Just a really, really strong left turn there. Yeah, you can definitely see it here. Surely you guys can see that. So I'm going to be taking this to Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Now the wonderful thing about Rough Ryder knives is that they are hand built, back for life. So if you ever have an issue with a Rough Ryder, whether it's reserve or standard, going into this, if you're near the shop, going into the shop. If you're not, you can mail it in, and they will replace it with the same model. If that model is no longer made, they will find you a model that is as close as they can get to your original. Now this one's still in stock for 21 bucks, by the way. Excellent deal on this knife, I think. $21 for a Rough Ryder Reserve in D2 with a wonderful action, very snappy. There's a couple of other things here I will point out, though. There's some slight gaps in the back spring. I'm sure you guys can see those. Maybe not so slight, actually. Anything else here worth mentioning? The transitions are really good. I do quite like the way the transitions were done on this knife. Same shield. I think that's about it. So again, for 21 bucks, I'm really pleased with it other than this big old warp, and I really think that I just got a lemon. I just was unlucky. This one kind of just passed through QC and nobody caught it. Typically, this is actually the first time that I've ordered a Rough Ryder Reserve, which I typically order them by mail. Sometimes I'll get them at the store because I only live about 30 minutes away, but most of the time I just order it. This is the first time I've had a bad experience, so I'm sure they'll take care of me. I'm not worried about it at all. So I'm going to run up there, replace this, maybe pick up another one while I'm there because there's a lot of really good affordable Rough Ryder Reserves right now. Anyway, guys, this is the Fat Bottom Doctor's Knife. This one, as I said, $21 at Smoky Mountain Knife Works website. And lastly, this one's super cool. I love this one. This is the Dude Whittler in this lovely black micarta, kind of a linen micarta, nice and smooth. Oh, it's so nice. I really like it. There is the back springs for you guys. As you can see, they are really tight. Not seeing any gaps really. It is a split back spring here. So we have, which I guess you would call this a split back whittler. We have 3 blades. We have our big old main blade. Big old mean whittler like there. Look at that. Good gosh. So I'm not sure if you would call that a Warncliffe or a sheep's foot, but it's one thing or another in D2, of course. Lovely, lovely. And our other blades are also whittler style sheep's foot blades. Now the action on these is significantly lighter, and I think it just has something to do with the way the tension is on these split back. This is the only split back spring that I have in my collection. So it's a much lighter tension on the secondary blades. And these ones, actually this one has no play, maybe a hair. But yeah, very light though here. Like as you can see, it's not hard at all to knock that blade over. So you want to be careful with those smaller blades. Let's check this one again here. This one has a hair side to side, but again, nothing I would really be concerned about. And also equally light on the spring. But however, that main blade, man, ooh, feels really good to open that thing up. Very tight. There's not really, yeah, you can push on it, but it does not want to move. Feels very sturdy. One of my favorite things about this design is the coffin shape. That looks so cool to me. I love that shape for a knife. It's very cool. I believe Ken Onion actually had a modern knife that he did recently. I can't remember the name of it, but it was through CRKT. And it is a very large coffin-shaped knife in a modern sort of design. Looks super good. This looks equally good to me. I love it with the black micarta. I think black on a silver, with silver bolsters with a coffin shape looks so awesome. I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think it looks badass. So one thing I do want to point out though, actually, under the camera, it looks better than I thought it would. These transitions are not bad, but you can feel them. They do sit a little proud. And this is one of those ones that I get the feeling where if you were to get it wet, they would probably flare up on you. You can see it here. You see how it's a little proud. I'm really nitpicking here, but it is a thing that I've noticed. So that's something to, maybe I just got unlucky with this one. Maybe the rest of them are perfect. But yeah. Really been pleased with this one. I carry it all the time. It's one of my favorite back pocket knives due to its size. It's a lot of fun though, and I actually plan on doing some serious whittling with this thing here pretty soon. That's one thing I do with my kids on hikes. I'll make them hiking sticks and stuff that are, we work them down a little bit, make them a little bit nicer than just picking up a branch off the ground. And I really want to use this blade to do that sometime. But yeah, guys, so this is just a quick roundup of 3 of my Rough Rider reserves that I've been meaning to talk about and just haven't quite found the time. One thing I want to do real fast, here's a closer look at the back spring on the Longfellow Granddaddy here. No gaps really, as you can see, just nice and flush. So yeah, still a big fan of this one. Rough Rider Reserve for the money, I think they're fantastic. And it's great to know that if you ever had an issue with one, you just got to reach out to Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They will take care of you, and they'll, God forbid something happens to it, they back it for life. So, all right, guys, well, let me know what you think in the comments, any opinions on these knives. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you want to check these out online, it's smkw.com, and just search Rough Rider Reserve. You can see their whole collection. But yeah, it's been fun, guys. Hope you guys have I got through the whole video without tripping over my words. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.